What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Calgary Barbell for yet another episode of Form Check Friday, the show where we take your user-submitted videos via email sent to formcheckfriday@gmail.com and no other email addresses. And we use a random number generator. We pick a bunch of videos. We take a look at them. I put them up on the screen here and pick them apart, draw stuff all over them. Try to help you guys become better technical lifters and more aware of what to look for when you're watching yourself or somebody else lift. Ideally, we can raise the standard for technical proficiency across the sport. Anyways, a couple of announcements before we get started. We are doing seminars in Basingstoke in the UK, just outside of London, and we're also doing a seminar in Villeneuve, which is in France. Yes, France. And if you guys are interested in those, head over to calgarybarbell.com and click on the seminars link. You gotta scroll down a little bit and everything will be in there. Also, as a point of interest, anybody in the Calgary area who wants to get some hands-on coaching, you can go ahead and hit the same link to come in and take part in our learning lifting class, I guess you could call it. What we're going to do is we're going to provide programming and twice weekly sessions for people to come in and lift in a small group environment to learn powerlifting. So if you're a novice and you like this information here, you want to come in and get your technique analyzed specifically by a couple of our fantastic Calgary Barbell coaches at the Strength Edge here in Calgary, then come on in, sign up for that, and more details on the site if you're interested. So without further ado, we're gonna get into it here. I will pull up our emails here. So we have our first submission comes from Léon Pierre Dufour, and he put the phonetic pronunciation of that in there, hoping that I wouldn't mess up his name, and I probably still messed it up. So sorry, man. It's just the way I am. Je ne parle pas français, I will say. And we're going to be doing some bench press here. Now, first meet December 8th, and they're expecting their first child November 27th. Brave soul. He asks if I'm planning a powerlifting seminar in their province anytime soon. We aren't currently, but would always love to. Love to talk to gyms who are interested in having us out. That's kind of how this whole Euro trip started. So this is his bench submission. First set after working up to a single of 275. He's working on his arch, and he says every time he fails, it's right off his chest, and the bar only moves a couple of inches. Well, let's take a look at this. All right. So just gonna kind of let you guys watch through. There's a couple things I noticed right off the hop, and right there is one of them. So in the descent, we're coming down, and you can see that sort of lapse of tightness. That bar sinks in just a little bit. I think one other thing, and we'll see how well I can scrub. Probably not super well. This is a YouTube link, so I'm doing my best here. But you can see that the elbow and shoulder position even kind of moves around a little bit. Watch right there as we go through this rep, as it touches his chest. You can see there's a little bit of movement in there. And as he reinitiates, we've lost a little bit of that original tightness. So I think one of the big cues, especially if you're working on, working on your arch, it would be to bring your chest up to the bar as it comes down. So don't just let the bar come down on you, but bring your chest up, try to meet the bar. That's gonna pin your shoulders back better. It's gonna help you maintain better tension. The other thing is with the leg drive here, it looks like we're relaxing the leg drive. You can see right here, watch, let me draw a better circle. Watch how that space changes throughout this first little bit of his lift. You can see the bar kind of like, it depresses his whole body. Whereas if we're reaching up and using leg drive nice and consistently throughout the set, that rep was a little bit better, then we're gonna be able to keep a higher chest, and we're gonna be able to make sure that bar isn't changing our position as we go through our pauses. So the biggest things I would work on there would be number one, make sure you're bringing your chest up to meet the bar, and number two, consistent leg drive throughout the set. Try not to make that a thing that kind of changes, collapses, and then you push a bunch. That's how people shoot their butts up into the air more often than not. Now our next one comes from Sean, and Sean says his low back seems to bug him every time he squats, especially in higher reps ranging from 8 and above. Might be using a little bit too much back on the concentric. Let's take a look and see. Now, your back bugging you may or may not be a product of technique. It might have more to do with the amount of volume you're doing and the RPEs that you're reaching. Let's take a look. So the first thing I'm noticing here is quite a bit of depth. Now, not inherently a bad thing again, but generally speaking, we're able to hold a little bit better position if we go just below parallel instead of way below parallel. Let me pause this, see if I can scrub to the right point. So right there, great. But we kind of get this like squish at the bottom. So we're hitting depth and then squishing. You can see the change of position in the lower limb there. The knee kind of popping forward and tracking really far forward. We're actually getting a little bit of change in position in the feet as well. Right there, kind of collapsing the feet. But honestly, overall, the squat looks pretty damn good. I think you might be able to trim depth and maintain a bit better position. If you can better maintain tension into the hole, you're going to be in a better position on the way up. As well as, especially on this last rep here, we're really kind of falling forward in the hole. So I would work on keeping the tension a little more consistent through the feet, and I wish I could see the feet better there. But on this last rep, let's watch it in kind of slow motion here. So we come down and everything really pops forward there. You can see his heel actually lifts off the ground. We'll just watch this in real time. See that heel come up there? So that means we're tipping forward a little bit. And yeah, I mean, when you fall forward like that, you might be putting a little bit of stress on your back and getting a bit of a back pump because of the fact that you're leaning forward like that. So I would say that if you can keep your feet a little better rooted, as well as try to stay a little bit more controlled and a little bit tighter in the bottom position. Our next submission comes from Ethan. Now, Ethan, where are you, Ethan? There you are. All he says is that his body weight is 185. Let's take a look. Ethan, very grip it and rip it, top-down style setup. All right, that all happened so fast. So it looks like maybe a little bit of position loss with that super quick setup. We're not necessarily getting the tension out of the bar, which is something I generally will try to preach in sumo deadlifting. Again, packing the lats down, making sure that we're using a push off the floor. You can see that we're probably getting just a little bit pulled out of position here as that weight kind of makes its presence known. We're getting a little bit more tipped forward. We're having to pull back as you extend up. Whereas ideally you'd be able to maintain a little bit more over the bar position off the floor. I think with these subsequent reps, maybe a little bit better. Third rep probably being the best there. But yeah, I would maybe slow down your setup. Try to, maybe take your time setting that bottom position. Not necessarily that I want you to change to a bottom up setup, but with your top down setup, come down a little bit more slowly. Make sure you got tension through your trunk and torso before you pop yourself into the bar like that. Other than that, honestly, your mechanics are really good. Your timing is really good. Your back position's pretty decent. You're pushing it off the floor. Not really much I would say other than you know, try to work on being a little bit more consistent with how you're setting up your first rep. And that's about it. Let's take a look at Philip. Now, Philip is doing some deadlifts here as well. Pull up Philip's email for some context. Philip, age 20, max deadlift 180 kilos, tested 3 months ago. All right, Philip, let's see what you got, man. Another sumo puller. I'm seeing a trend here. First off, this weight looks really light and really easy. So, I mean, might not see anything going wrong here at all. Looks like pretty good positioning. He's pulling himself in. Excuse me, packing the lats. I think we might be trying to get a little bit too hips low, too upright, because as you can see there, and I paused it at just the right time, you're pulling into here, and then the hips are popping up, and we're pulling from there. So probably better off you pull into a position more like this and are able to create tension and force against the bar before you start, rather than pull in too low and then get popped up. You see what I'm saying? Pop, like this, pop. So don't over-exaggerate how upright you need to be. Rather work to find a strong position off the floor. That rep was much better. Hold on. Let's look at this one. You pulled in a little bit hips higher and maintain position. We still kind of pop forward, I guess, off the floor there. So maybe we need to keep a little bit more tension on the forefoot when you're starting so that you're not seeing that big change in position. Let's go through from the start one more time. So they're coming down, pulling in. And that first rep is pretty good. We're still, you can see that bar travels a little bit forward away from your knees, which generally tells me the knees aren't pulled back far enough, right? We're not getting as maybe vertical in the shins. Just watch the cap of this bar here. I'm gonna try to draw a little bit better than that right here. Try and make a good outline. That might be the best I've ever drawn on the screen. You guys are welcome. So let's take a look at what happens here as we initiate this rep. You can see that bar travels out in front of itself and gets a fair bit out from where it was when we started. And generally, that means by pulling down too far, those knees are coming too far forward, which is causing that bar to shift away from you. Leave those hips a little higher for the sake of getting your shins a little bit more vertical so you can pull straight up without that bar pulling you out over yourself. And that is almost it. We have one more left, and this submission is going to come from Noah. Now, Noah Urbanski, there's the email. So 4 rep set is the opener of the day and the first of the 3x4 2x2. The other set is his last working set before an 8 RPE 1 rep. Competed in his first meet last month. Pulled 585, squatted 445, but bombed on the bench. Think of getting more serious into powerlifting. Been lifting for almost a third of my life. My numbers are pretty good. Just need to brush up on form on bench and squat. Hip drive is always lagging and is probably his biggest weakness right now. Much love from New York. All right, Noah, let's see what we've got here. And this is some squats. All right, so very low bar. Depth looks like it might be a little on the line, but it looks pretty okay. That's a solid ass looking squat, man. I don't see much wrong with that at all. I'm not sure what you mean by your hip drive lagging. That sounds like a very Ripito kind of thing. Like you should be throwing your butt back up into the bar, which is something that's never made sense to me. I do think that we could maybe get a little bit tighter through that upper back and through the shelf there, because it looks like you can see how kind of unstable everything is as you unrack. We're tipping back and forth. We're shaking a little bit out of the rack. So I think that like here you got no tension to the bar, and then you just smack your upper back into it and walk out. So that would be one of the first things I would work on here, is trying to get that tension and the bar and the weight of the bar set into your back before you pick it up and unrack it, instead of kind of getting your bar in the right area and then hitting the bar with it as you unrack it and coming out unstable. Because your squat looks really good. I think we could be a little bit more tighter in the upper back here for sure. And by the end of the set, we're getting maybe a little bit pulled forward as we come out of the hole, although you're doing a really good job of bracing your back against it, which is a good thing to see. So yeah, probably just that unrack. Work on keeping your back a little bit tighter as you pick the bar up out of the rack. And that's probably as far as I go in terms of corrections there. Everything else looks solid. I know I said depth was a little bit on the line, but I think that it's there. Let's take a closer look here. Boop. Parallel, but it's hard to see with this thing in the way. It's also maybe not the best angle for depth. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt because in case you guys didn't know, the IPF rulebook actually says, now I know a lot of people and referees don't necessarily buy into this, but the rulebook says the benefit of the doubt goes to the lifter. If you can't make up your mind, if you're not quite sure, if somebody got in the way at the last second, the benefit of the doubt goes to the lifter. That's actually a rule. Anyways, my rant is over. Yeah, fix the unrack and things look real good. All right, guys, that is it for Form Check Friday today. Thank you for tuning in. Really hope you guys like these sort of longer format, more in depth with the screen drawing kind of videos. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything that you saw on the show, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. If you guys have training related questions, we take an audience submitted question every week and answer it in detail. And we make a full video about that. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask them below. Leave a like if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button. And if you guys want to send in your videos, it is formcheckfriday@gmail.com. We'll see you guys next time.